Hello, and welcome back to Conversations with Sharyn and Rosa. I'm Rosa.
And I'm still Sharyn.
And as you all can see, we have a special guest today, and we will get to who she is in just a second. So we want to thank you all for joining us once again for another conversation this week. Before we get into our shout outs, babe, you have any announcements?
Just that, about Pride Weekend and how wonderful it was. And we just want to send a special thank you, to you guys who came out and supported us. And we had a great time. Great time.
Yes, it was wonderful. Thank you all for coming out. We so appreciate it. And thank you for the well wishes that you all sent me for my laryngitis. Right, I had laryngitis last week, so Sharyn and I didn't do an episode, but I'm back, as you can see.
Yay!
I know, right? So, since there are no other announcements, and you got some announcements, you good?
Okay.
I don't want to bypass you with the announcements. You might have something you might want to say, but
Sure,
anyway,
have some next time.
Exactly.
I'm single? No.
Well, that's an announcement. Y'all heard it first. So let's get into today's shout out. Our first shout out goes to Cynthia S. Thank you so much for being a subscriber to Conversations with Sharyn and Rosa. And thank you for your comments. We appreciate you. Our next shout out goes to National Not Normal Lesbian 970.
Whoa.
Thank you too.
That's a lot.
Yes. Thank you too, and thank you for your comments. And last but not least is Cheryl MJ. We so appreciate you, and we appreciate all of your support as well. Thank you, and thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that felt like a mouthful.
Yeah.
So, as Sharyn and I have said that we're going to do a segment on alcohol abuse in the LBGTQ lesbian community, and so that is what today is as well. So it's your part 2 of alcoholism in the LBGTQ community, and we just want to talk about that, and that's why we brought on a special guest. I will let Sharyn introduce our special guests since they are really good friends. I'm gonna let them talk about that.
Okay. So I now have a very good friend. Which is hard to come by. But seriously, one, it's not easy getting her, more or less to get her here early on a Sunday morning. So
Absolutely.
We're starting with our thank you for that. But going in line with our last week's presentation and our subject, we got so much feedback about alcoholism in our community, and sometimes people say it's the invisible addiction. Like we have it, but everyone is not, it's like they kind of ignore us. And as we said on the program, we just couldn't fit it all in one day. And Rose and I, we know a lot of things and we've been a lot of places, but neither one of us are alcoholics. Neither one of us have had a drug problem that I know of. And we wanted to, but it's good to get the experts, the people who have lived the life or living the life and know about it much more than we do, which brings us to our special guest. I'm going to try to encapsulate it. A wonderful human being, a wonderful spirit, a kind person, and she's gone from acquaintance to friend to confidant, and here's Sandy, and she's going to share with you her story. Hey, Sandy.
Hey, thank you both, and thanks for the kind words. I paid them, right?
Yeah, exactly. You know we gotta say it for the show, right? I just let y'all know that.
I left my purse over there, but I got money for you. Anyway, yeah, my name is Sandy, and I'm honored to be here, and this is a subject that's close to me. I think alcoholism in our community may be getting better, but I've always attributed to, I was gay long before these gay student alliances and the young gay this. And so therefore, in order to meet someone like me, I had to go to bars. And I there was never a time that I did not have a gay leaning. I grew up on the East Coast in Philadelphia, and I always knew that I like women. You know, shoot, I'd watch TV, and matter of fact, had a crush on that damn Mary Ann on Gilligan's Island.
Oh
my goodness!
You went way back for that one.
Wait, she was the one that had the 2 ponytails?
Yeah.
No,
so.
she was
Oh,
the
she was
movie
the
star.
Oh, right,
the movie.
okay.
No, that was Ginger.
Ginger?
Ginger actually was the. Am I wrong?
I don't know.
Ginger was the
I
movie
didn't
star.
watch it. But it don't matter.
I was never above it being a menage a trois. Ginger
Okay.
and Mary Ann. Fine.
That's another show.
I know.
But we got no. I'm just kidding.
But I always knew, and it was, and I was gay long before they referred to us as gay or lesbian. It wasn't good in my family. My mother knew, and I think she was trying to make sure I wasn't, so it was always a derogatory name, something, hoping that I just wouldn't be gay.
Bulldagger?
Oh, I was called that. That was, matter of fact, when I came out to my best friend, I said, I'm a bulldagger. And she looks at me and she goes, you mean a lesbian? I was like, what's that?
Like, what's a lesbian? I'm a bulldagger. What?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
But so at a young age, and I remember being a teenager, and I ran away from home in the summer, and I'd go to Atlantic City.
Oh.
And I was able to get a fake ID. And so I'm about 14, 15, and I've got this ID that says I'm much older. Now, mind you, my mother didn't let me I didn't wear stock, nothing grown,
Right. Mm-hmm.
So here I am in my knee socks, looking 12, talking about I'm 22.
Right.
Believe it or not.
No,
Showing them the ID and being happy about it.
But so where do you go? You go to bars.
Right.
And the downside of the bars isn't just about alcoholism, but just imagine their age inappropriate experiences with age inappropriate people at
Right.
age inappropriate time.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not knowing that. I know they had to suspect that I'm younger than I am, but since I'm playing this off, and so this means, hey, I gotta have a drink.
Right.
And so that's how it starts. And I remember I was a wussy drinker.
Yeah.
I would have a Singapore sling with extra grenadine.
Yeah.
One step above a Shirley
But that's
Temple.
interesting because interesting that you said that because when we're younger and we're trying to act more adult, drinking is part of it, or grabbing a cigarette to make them not suspect that you were younger.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So I can definitely understand that.
So there I am, cigarette in one hand, and this is back in the day when you could smoke in the bar and got
it.
And it goes from there.
Yeah.
And
So you started with alcohol.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I sneak into bars, and since I had run away from home, I would, in the summer, I'd go to Atlantic City, so there's nothing but bars, and there's gay bars and the drag shows, and it just is this life centered around partying.
Yeah.
That's where you met other people like you, because it wasn't like you'd show up at school and look at one of the girls and go, I really like you, and end up punched in the face.
Right.
And now the whole school
or their
knows
brother
you were
looking
gay.
for you.
No,
Exactly.
you ain't gay till they pulled the fire drill, the fire alarm on your ass. What happened? A bulldagger. Bulldagger.
Exactly. Now, mind you, I also went to Catholic school, so that just...
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Uniform and all?
Uniform and all. That's where the knee socks came in.
Yeah.
My little Oxfords. Yeah, the little saddle shoes, we called them back in the day. And, but that's where it started.
Yeah.
And of course, then I get introduced to smoking a little weed here and there. But I have to tell you, I really didn't, the alcohol or drugs did not take any major toll for many, many years. I finally, at 18, I joined the military and traveled, and I was in the Air Force, and they were doing, they started doing drug testing while I was in, so you definitely were not going, I wasn't going to be using any drugs.
Right.
But I could drink. And I was a wussy drinker, a couple of beers, and I'm toasted, still with the Singapore slings.
I'm still like that. 2 beers, I'm out. I'm asleep.
Right.
Me too. And this is how, as years go by, my story elevates. I learned how to stay awake and drink more.
Okay.
You know, and the heartbreaking part. So it's bad enough that my mother has an issue with it that I'm gay, but I was also in the Air Force before don't tell, don't ask, don't tell.
Right.
And someone told, and so the Air Force asked me to leave. And though I'm honorably discharged, I now have to go home and how do I explain this?
Right.
And for many years, and definitely not telling friends. So I made up this huge story about how the Air Force had a breach of contract and excuse me. So I go home, and now I don't fit in, but I can still go to the bars, and I'm finally old enough now. And I have to tell you though, you can't stop me from doing things that I want to do. So remember my story started out with fake ID. It used to be easy to change ID back in the day, so I went down and got me a new Social Security number. And about 4 years after being put out, I joined the Air Force again and went back to basic training and
Oh wow.
tech school.
Yeah. Yeah.
Got to tech school, and 6 people from my last base were now instructors. And one of them told, so they asked me to leave again.
Wow. I never knew that.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so now, and I'm down in, of all places, Biloxi, Mississippi. Now,
Oh,
you
yeah.
would think this is some hick town and there ain't no partying. This is a place you can party all night, and as long as one person was in the bar buying drinks, that bar stayed open.
Oh wow. That was the move. That's right. That's right.
And we had this little bar called the Libidos in Exile, and dive bar, and we would party all night and be drunk and get up. Now I got to get back to it was in actually Gulfport, just little outskirts, but here I got to get to work in the morning, and it just finally and it ended, and finally as I said, one of them told, and I ended up being asked to leave again, and now I definitely don't want to go home. I spent about I don't know. I just knew I wasn't going back.
Right.
So I got up one day and decided to move to San Diego.
Oh, okay.
And how old were you?
26.
20. Okay.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And so, mind you, there's still no alcoholism. I party on the weekends. Alcohol is not the problem. And I continue partying, and I remember moving out here, and my neighbor, one of my neighbors introduced me to stimulants. And that's when I discovered I could drink longer, and because I could stay up and,
Got you.
and keep going.
Got you.
And this thing just started out as purely partying. I'm not one of those people that says I was trying to mask any pain. I tell people it never was I sitting around going, Uncle Willie used to touch me, and they said, here, drink this, hit that.
Right.
Oh, I
right.
feel better now. No, I just like to party.
Right.
And there's a moment, and people, I think, noticed that as time was going by, my life was changing, and I was no longer progressing. And then all of a sudden, I look up, and I had become homeless. And that was like in '89. Unfortunately, as a veteran, I was able to get help at, a matter of fact, the event just took place this past weekend, Stand Out. They had their 34th one. I was at their first 3-day one.
Okay.
And because I didn't even know I was eligible to use the VA.
Right.
Right.
And
right.
it was
right.
through there that
Mhm.
I got, introduced. And so we fast forward, I'm partying on the weekends, and there's a line that one crosses that you don't realize it. You go from living to merely existing, from partying to now it's become a way of life. And I don't know that I can't stop, because people are like, you need to cut down, and it's like, I could stop anytime I wanted to. I just don't want to. Why would I want to? I'm
Right.
having fun.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And I think I have an ex that set my house on fire, and that left me in
And that was because you.
We'll have to bring
were
you back for that story by
Right.
itself.
Right.
Because
right.
I'm already intrigued. Like, what?
yeah. So now I'm homeless,
Yeah.
and I rent one of those storage containers that you get from Waste Management to put on a construction site.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I dropped one of those in a friend's front yard, and mind you, still electricity from the pole because, of course, I wouldn't steal the neighbors. That wouldn't be right.
Right.
I got carpet down there. Got me a little microwave, a little refrigerator, and this is, you know. And a friend later said to me, she goes, "So you were living in a dumpster?" And I was appalled. It's like, no, it was a storage container.
That's what I'm saying. It's my home. I'm chilling. But I would have looked at it differently because I'm like, that's so like
Innovative.
creative,
Creative,
right? Like, I would have
right.
never even thought to do
You
that.
know, and here's what's jacked up. I just saw an article. They're talking about using these storage containers to make little tiny
Little
homes.
houses
Right,
for
they
the
have
homeless.
been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People
Right.
talked about me.
Right.
I should have
Patent
copyrighted
that.
a
Yes,
patent that,
yes.
Well, how much were you drinking? What was your consumption at the time of homelessness, more or less living in the dumpster?
Well, you know, and
She wasn't
here's
living in the dump.
I'm sorry, no.
It's the storage container.
Wait a minute, trying to minimize your living
Your
quarters. You
creativity.
know.
Wait a minute, and I was appalled at the thought that you'd call it a dumpster until I realized, you know, had it delivered by Waste Management. And you see the trucks that used to go by on the side, phone number was 1-800-DUMPSTER.
So that's why she was
Moment
saying
of
something.
clarity.
Right. Yeah. What was your
So
was your
it's not
consumption?
so. Here's the deal. It wasn't so much my consumption amount, because I'm not a heavy drinker. I'm really not. Don't even have the ability to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But what has happened is alcohol is going along with meth,
Yeah.
and so I'm just partying.
Right.
And,
So at this time you're doing more drug than alcohol.
you know, and so they just level each other off, you know.
Okay.
I laugh. I tell when I say I drink, you know, I was known to walk around with a Seagram's Wildberry wine cooler, and throughout the day I might have a couple of beers. Though I can put away some of those daggone, what are they called, mudslides.
Oh yeah. I like them.
Oh man, they're delicious, and put them in the freezer. And I would have two. Put them in the freezer, get it slushy. You drink half of one, it get warm. You stick it back in, get the other one. And I remember my daughter's mother came by one day, and I was saying, I don't know why I'm so sleepy. And she was like, "Fool, you're drunk." But unfortunately, and here's what happens with alcohol. It's not so much about how much I drink. It's about the fact that it reduces your inhibitions.
Right.
And you start to make choices that you would not normally make.
Right.
And so
Mhm.
I think it's a good idea, since I don't have a job, that I should sell stimulants. And now I'm putting myself into a position where I'm going to get arrested at some point.
Right.
You know. And so fast forward, I've gotten arrested. It's a couple of times, and in one of the 12-step programs, I remember reading this line, and it says, "We fail to heed ominous warnings."
Mm-hmm.
So I gave you an example. I get pulled over one night. I'm leaving my daughter's mom's house. That's right, I got a baby mama. No, you know what?
But you can explain.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
And I get pulled over, and they're pulling me over because they said the car was stolen. I borrowed it from a friend. It's a whole other story. And
Yeah, we're gonna have to have you back on.
Part 3.
Yeah, exactly. Go ahead.
And here's the thing. I could have done a lot of things with that little package that I knew I had on me.
Mm-hmm.
I threw the pipe in the back, so now it's not on me. But I should have thrown the little baggie I had, stick it someplace, do something. But I can't just toss it out the window, so I stick it in my shoe. I still get arrested. They take me in. First thing to do is remove the shoe.
Right.
Where'd that come from? I remember the guard looked at me and went, "Damn sure it didn't come out of my pocket." And so they put me on diversion.
Okay.
So this means that every Sunday, I have to stop doing what I'm doing because I may go into class and they may ask me to UN.
Oh, gotcha.
And the ominous warning is this: knowing that every Tuesday night I was still doing what I've always done because I could not use or drink.
Wow.
And I didn't realize that I couldn't do it, but I couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
And I get to the last 3 classes, and I now know every week that I go in, they are going to UA me. And right before that class, that's when my ex set my house on fire. And right after before the house gets set on fire, they raided it.
Oh, wow.
And so now I pick up a case, and I'm going to be on probation, and, you know, and I laugh about that house being set on fire, but once my life turns around, I remember calling and thanking her for that, because the truth is, I was not going to stop doing what I was doing. And, oh, by the way, I lived across the street from the police station. That's a whole other story.
I can't.
I thought they were private security.
Right.
I needed to be safe.
While I'm doing what I'm doing. Yeah.
And so, and thinking back, I wouldn't have gotten raided again because I was going to keep doing what I was doing because I could not. And fortunately, by her doing that, the next time I got in trouble, it was for something else, and I didn't have a prior, because that prior would have sent me to prison.
Gotcha.
And, but I do get stopped again about a year later. Now, by now, now I'm homeless, and for real.
So you were still using at the time?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And it doesn't stop because, again, and I'm still hanging out, and when we go anyplace, we're hitting the bars. Right. That's what you do on the weekends, and that's when we used to have the box office and the Flame and the what was it, the Griffith. There were just all these little spots that we would hit, and that's where you party.
And that's when you sell the drugs as well?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because they too want to be able to drink it up until 2 a.m.
Right. And tune back up. It's only 2. I'm going for 4. Right. Yeah.
And,
okay.
So I get stopped again and I pick up another case, and now I'm getting ready to, I'm facing prison, and I know that's what's going to happen.
Oh, wow.
And fortunately, because I'm a veteran, I was given an opportunity to go to a program that provides treatment to veterans. And I did not go there to get sober, though. I went there not to go to prison, and I always tell, I remember the judge saying, letting me know that saying before I pass sentence, I'm giving you an opportunity to become a productive member of society again. And he sentenced me to this program for 365 days.
Oh, wow.
See?
Oh, year?
Yeah, see, that was the same thing. I was like, it sounded like reverberated 25 to life in my head. I'm like, wait a minute. I figured 6 months, 90 days, maybe
max, yeah.
What, a year? Like, oh my God, what? With nothing?
Like, I got things to do in a year. I got to use and continue to sell.
And get back to the club, too.
Right, I got to go back to the
depending on me, right?
Exactly, and I'd get on the phone, and believe it or not, this was January the 5th, 1999, and it started there, and I'd be on the phone being like, all right, come January 5th, 2000, the party is on.
Getting out, right?
Because I needed my clients to know, I'm coming back, don't be getting new connects,
Right.
And so I started doing the program in 6 months, I'll say somewhere between 5 and 6 months. I was talking to my daughter's mother, and I was telling her, I'm kind of liking this thing. And I decided to just stick with it. And I discovered that I can still party. I have friends that drink. The world doesn't have to stop, and it didn't stop because I did. And my life has turned around, and so I've been sober since January the 7th of 1999.
Wow.
Notice it. I got to the program on January 5th. I didn't go to this program to get sober.
Right.
And I just decided I could do it for a year. And it was like, come that, a year from then I could go back. And I've never looked back. And so January 7th, 2024, I'll celebrate 25 years. See, it was 25 to life. I don't think they're getting ready to parole me. So I'm going to be doing this for life.
Right.
And so I turned that being homeless into I own a home.
Right.
I've got a career. Matter of fact, I'm about three and a half years out from retirement.
Yeah.
And so life has turned around, and I still get to party. Heck, y'all know that I'm always the entertainment at your parties. I show up, and so I don't poo-poo anybody who has the ability to drink.
Right.
Just some of us, there's some invisible line. There's a switch that is cut off, and I just don't think that I can ever drink responsibly again.
Right.
And out of the people that I know that are also in recovery, I haven't met any that can drink responsibly. And it's like, oh yeah, on Friday I have a beer and I do a quick, and we party all weekend, and then I go to work on Monday. I haven't met that person.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And I don't
Okay.
think it exists. So,
And that's based on your experience.
for me, yes.
Yeah.
And I haven't met it. I don't have any friends that can say that that's them. I know some people that have started drinking, and I laugh because they think they're just cool, and I'm like, oh.
Right.
That is not attractive.
Right.
It's like, we have fun.
Right.
Right.
But that's kind of like different types of people who are drinking. Like, you act differently. Some people are gonna be sloppy. Some people like me, I just go to sleep. It really just makes me sleepy. Or some people who going to tell you they all their business. So it kind of depends on what the liquid courage does for who it does. And I know people who have said that they've done the best in their lives when they were on drugs or drinking. I actually dated a woman one time who was in recovery, and she said during her recovery she was able to get her college degree. During her time she was on drugs, she was able to get a college degree. She bought 2 homes. She had great jobs, although she was getting fired from them because she was on drugs, and eventually it showed at work. But she would get these great jobs, and when she started in recovery, it was hard because she didn't know how to function without what she was doing, and that was the biggest thing that she had to overcome. Just like, how do I go to day-to-day life without these substances? So I know it kind of have to be hard, but she was going through the 12 steps. Is it called the 12 steps? She was going through the 12 steps as well. But I'm gonna ask you, and I know everybody's story is different, but how do someone who is trying to help another person who is dealing with this, how do we not be enablers, or how do we help that person who we feel like they need help, or do we just wait for them to say, oh, I need help? Or what does that look like?
Well,
or what could have like you were saying, the judge gave you this, which you weren't even going in there to get clean, but now you decided to do that. So I think that was a good thing.
It was.
Yeah.
And but many people said to me, I remember friends would say, Sandy, if you would spend half as much time doing something productive as you do, thinking of these schemes and scams and whatever comes up in my, stupors, how greater, successful I could be. And I was like, I could stop if I wanted to.
Right.
You truly did not realize that I had a problem until I had been sober, I think 45 to 60 days. I'd go in to the meetings and I'd say, hi, my name is Sandy, and I'm a drug dealer who keeps getting in trouble with the police.
That was your opening?
That was my opening. And people would just say, hi, Sandy, keep coming back. Shake their head. Denial is more than a river that in Egypt.
But by you saying that, did they want you to say, like, I am the alcoholic, or I am the... That's what you have to admit?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I couldn't admit it because I didn't realize it. And
Right.
It wasn't...
And the police keep picking on you.
And that's,
Look, because I drive that red car. No, because you sell drugs.
They just didn't like you.
And I remember one day saying, well, I thought to myself, why do the police keep picking on you? And it's like, because you keep having drugs. And why do you have drugs? And it's because I sell them so I can get mine free. Well, why do you need yours free? Oh. And I came into the meeting, I'm like, hi, my name is Sandy, and I'm an addict. And everybody clapped. Hey, she finally figured it out.
Yeah.
We're not here by mistake.
Right.
But, they always talk about we need to hit a bottom. I can't tell a person that they're an alcoholic.
Right.
I can look and think, because there's different types. There's hard drinkers, there's people with a drinking problem. Not everyone is an alcoholic.
Right.
Some people can be given a good reason to stop. They get married, have a baby, get pregnant, and they're like, oh, I got to put that stuff down. And they do.
Right.
And then there's people like me, doesn't matter. Not putting it down.
Right.
And I don't think it would change if I ever picked up.
So what I'm understanding you to say, and we want things in black and white, so can you quantify that? I mean, what makes an alcoholic is, and you're saying it's not about the amount that you were taking. So you know how somebody say, well, you know, I drink too much, but you're drunk. You know, like what like we can make a difference. So in some of my reading, they were saying if you do 4 to 5 drinks weekly, that you know that you're starting to binge. But if you do 15 to 25 drinks a week, you're an alcoholic. So it's like somewhere in my reading, I'm getting the impression that someone has to quantify this. Well, right? And you're saying that it's not about the quantity.
It's not about the amount.
About the amount, okay.
You know, men can drink a lot more than a woman can.
Just because they're
of size.
The ladder,
That's true.
But what you look at is your life becoming unmanageable? Do
Okay.
you get drunk at the worst possible time? You know, you got a job interview coming up, and you're all ready, but you just need a drink. And the key is this: if you take one, and we call it the phenomena of craving. One is too many, and 1,000's never enough.
Right.
That phenomena of craving, if you can't just take one and, you know, walk off, and there may be a problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. That does make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
And I also want, you know, because we're tying it into our, you know, our first episode, you being a black lesbian, definitely in the community, your experience with other alcoholics, do you think black women are more prone to become more attached to alcohol than other races?
I don't know. I've seen a whole lot of drunk white women at the
Right. You just seen a whole lot of drunk women.
Yeah.
Whether they gay, not gay, white, black, whatever. Yeah, no, that's understandable.
Yeah, but I just think our lifestyle period of being gay, because it's so centered around the club.
Yeah, you're right.
That we tend to drink more, and it's not even drinking because I got a problem. It becomes our form of socialization.
Right. You're drinking because they don't serve hamburgers.
Today.
That's what they do. They serve alcohol. That, you know what I mean?
With
that's
some chips and dips. That's
right. Maybe peanuts if you're lucky.
Yeah.
But
our parties, everything is centered around. We throw a party. There's going to be booze, and there's always that person who drinks too much. And I think it you know, at some point it becomes a coping mechanism. You know?
Oh, absolutely.
At the end of the day, I need a drink to unwind. I mean, why can't you come in, kick your shoes off, and watch the news?
Right.
Why does, you know, and I can't question, everybody gets to, we're grown.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. But, you know, I'm getting, not mixed messages, but I'm getting, it saddens me because you know you read like, well, who's most susceptible to the, not just the lifestyle and what goes along with it. There's people who are out there been gay since 1900 and they're not alcoholics. And why is that? You know, because they've gone through the same things that we're going through, only in a different time period, right? So my question is, you know, so in my reading is telling me, you know, that Native American females are, you know, the number one group for alcoholism. The one group that affects alcoholism the least is Asians. And I'm thinking, I'm not being smart, I've never seen a drunk Asian. You know what I mean? Maybe they're doing something else, right? I don't, you know. So and making it about us because the conversation is about us. So what is it about blacks, more or less black women, more or less lesbian black women who are alcoholics and prone to it? Why do we do it the most and fall the furthest? Because as you say, you've met a lot of white women out there, a lot of white drunk women out there. But my quiet suspicion is that oftentimes when whites, you know, have drug problems, you know, they are able to, one, go to rehab, you know, stay there longer, get better treatment, and be okay, and come back and take over for dad's job. You know what I mean? They have more resources, and the fall is not so far. And when they do land, it's a softer landing than we have. So why is that?
Now, this is strictly my opinion, but one of the things that I think when we talk about a lot of other races, like you say, they have resources. we're already struggling. We don't have resources.
Or at least not enough of them.
Enough of them.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
When somebody with resources gets picked up for a case that I had for the first time, I've never been in any trouble. They pay a fine and they go on. I got diversion, which is, but it didn't have to even have that. It was such a small amount, it should have been a little minor possession charge. Or, it depends if you have a public defender as opposed to mom and dad can get you a good lawyer, it changes what your sentence is.
Yeah,
sure.
So now, when you have minimal resources and a public defender, they'd much rather you take a plea, because they don't get a loss. Everybody but you get a loss because now you're walking around with a felony and you're on probation.
right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
People with resources, okay, you're on probation, but mom and dad have a business and you continue to work every day.
Yes.
You're not looking for a job.
Right.
And so it's a lot easier. So I'm already drinking. You tell me now I can't do drugs. And I'm struggling to get a life and be able to pay my bills. And, so it's a lack of resources that really allow you to just say, forget it. And, you just take another drink because I can't pull myself up out of this cycle. And I hear people say all the time, it's harder to get off of probation than it is parole. It's
Right.
And it's because because the person with resources doesn't necessarily have to go see the probation officer every month if they're even on. They're on house arrest while I'm sitting in Las Colinas.
Right.
So the conditions of you getting sober change.
Yeah, the whole journey does.
It does.
Yeah, okay.
Mom and dad will watch the person, or the nanny will watch your kids while you go to AA in the middle of the day. But in the middle of the day, I got to have a job. I got to figure out. I have to have 2 jobs.
Who watching the kids when I get home?
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
So
exactly.
that leads to it, and I think some genetics. It's be true that, like you were saying, there are some races that they've said, cultures that are more prone to alcoholism. I think it's genetic.
Yeah.
And something
I believe that too.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
You do? Okay.
I do believe that.
Okay. Well, with your history, and you spoke of your mother who had done drugs, probably still doing some form of drugs, but why do you think that you've been able to lead such a clean life and something that's not at all reflective of your mother?
Well, I used my mom's, all of the things that she did, like, I knew it was not a good thing.
Right.
So I was just like, I don't want to be that person. And I think I consciously made decisions to not be that person. Like when I would go out with my friends in high school and everybody was drinking, they passed the bottle around in the car, so I just turn it up, don't take it, close lips, and then pass it back as though I was drinking. But I knew I didn't want that because I've seen the effects of it, and what it did to my mom, with her drug addiction. But at the same time, I also looked at my mother, she wasn't a bad person. And I can see the difference of what the drugs did to her. And so it made me able to understand a lot of what she was going through. My thing is, I just didn't understand how I was going to be able to help her. And I think we, as a family, was tiptoeing around her issue or didn't want to, discuss it because we thought it would hurt her feelings or whatever. And so that's why I was asking you earlier, like, how do you help someone and not be an enabler? I think when we tiptoe around people who have issues, or when they come over, be like, hide the liquor, or put this away because we don't want cousin Martha to see it, like that type of stuff, then we shouldn't have to do that. We should be openly talking about this. But I think one of the big things you were saying is that you finally went in there and said, hey, I am an addict. And when people don't recognize that that's what is going on with them, it's hard for people to help them when they don't even know how to help themselves or even where to start.
Or if they say I'm an alcoholic and that's all I'm going to be, so what, I'm an alcoholic.
Right, I've accepted it. What's your problem?
Right.
Yeah, now you have the problem.
Yeah.
Right. And I dated a woman who exactly said that, and she said that exact thing. And I remember when I was fed up with it, and I said, I can't do this anymore, you know, and I dropped her off at her home, and I said, this is the last time you're gonna see me. And the next thing I know, she was hitting me up like I'm going to get help and whatever. And but I felt like it wasn't genuine, because she was trying to, you know, say, one, like, I'm not necessarily going for you, but I am going for you. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like she had not hit her rock bottom, because she still was just gonna be who she is, and you know, till today, she's still who she is. So.
And as we use that term, which is, I definitely can appreciate it, whatever, and wrap my head around it, but sometimes, is it a fair statement to say that everyone will hit their rock bottom? Won't some people die before they hit it?
Oh yeah, I think my mother is gonna be one of them.
Okay.
I don't think, you know, I thought me even having her first grandchild for her daughters, you know, although my mom had you know, sons who had kids, and those were her you know, she always says, you know that they're your grandkids when they coming from your daughters, you know. So I had
touche.
I had you know,
I don't know
her
what Bobby did, but we know that's your baby.
Exactly. So, you know, she had two daughters, just my sister, him, and myself, and my sister's a little older, but I had a daughter first, and you know, she came and she saw, you know, my daughter, and she was just this is all, and I was talking to my sister, and I'm like, this may be, you know, the reason why she stopped, because she's like, I want to be in her life, you know, I want to, you know, care for her, and she stayed with us for like 6 months or whatever the issue was, at that point, but it wasn't her brick wall. It, you know, she, all of a sudden her friends coming through town, and now she got to hook up with them, and then she'll be back and don't come back, and you know, it just was the same cycle over and over and over.
Right,
and
just at a different location.
Absolutely.
Different zip code,
and
but
so,
the same show. Right.
You know, that's just who she's been, you know, all of her life, and it still is. Unfortunately, she slowed down a little bit because she's had a stroke.
Yeah, a stroke. That'll slow you down.
But if she can get back out there, she'd be out there.
She would.
Yeah, exactly.
She
exactly.
Would.
So, you know, I mean, I don't think everybody is necessarily have a brick wall. I think some people really will leave here. That's just what they're going to be doing.
I heard your bottom is when you stop digging the hole.
I like that, when you stop drinking the
that's true.
Well said.
So, you know, some people don't lose their home and their car and their job. They, you know, husband comes home and says, you know, this is it. I'm taking the kids.
I think Hollywood did a pretty good job of, I don't know if you saw Denzel Washington movie, he was a pilot, and he was a functioning alcoholic. And even at the trial, you know, he said, I'm an alcoholic. He said, hell, I'm drunk right now.
Right.
You know what I mean? He was on the stand fighting for his life, and I'm high. I'm glad I saw my man with the, you know, with my juice. Right? You know, because like, when do you give it up? You know, you can't fly anymore. Your marriage is over, this and that. And I wanted to tie that to something else I did in my reading. Once again, it was that one of the reasons why it's harder on, well, this is a thought, that why addictive behaviors is so hard on black people is when we get hooked on drugs, we see ourselves as the problem. When whites and others get hooked on drugs, it's everyone else's problem.
Right.
You know, because we are still black in this society, and whatever's wrong, I'm wrong. So now you got a person who, you know, is wrong at the get-go, doing something that's very unhealthy, very wrong, very negative, and it's not going to serve you well. When perhaps, so I'm not saying that whites don't take it as serious, you know what I mean, but psychologically, because we've had a different experience in life in this country, no matter, that covers everything.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, you know, a black person gets sober, and what's their chances of being okay for the next 5 years of their life, as opposed to a white person who, I do have 2 master's degree, or like say, I can go back and work at my dad's place, or grandma will take me in, as opposed to who's going to take you in? Yeah, you, only you, right.
Well, yeah, because she got a mom who didn't even, you know, accept who she was, so you definitely can't go home.
Right.
So where are you going?
I didn't like the gay shit, and I surely don't like this drug episode.
Right.
What else do you have?
Well, mind you, my mother's an alcoholic.
Oh wow.
You didn't tell us that.
Oh yeah, mother
Yeah.
is an alcoholic.
Okay.
And I always leave my mom out of it because I also had an aunt and uncle that were normies, that were very influential in my life to make sure I was in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing.
Right.
My mother was very strict. She just drank. But my mother, I think most of my life, tucked me in at night. I saw more of my mother than I wanted to.
Right.
She was not
She was
negative.
functional. She was a functional
Yeah, you know.
alcoholic. Yeah.
But so I don't attribute it to that. But you make a good point. But I was fortunate that I ended up with a career out of mine because at the agency where I got sober, I was able to get employed.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
and led to a career. Not everybody gets
Has
that.
that,
I
yeah.
mean,
Absolutely.
I had education and you know, and I knew how to do
and
some
training
things.
and yeah.
But you were also in a mind frame that you were willing to do that, because some people do get opportunities, but they're not in that mind frame.
Yeah.
You know,
Right,
if they're not ready, it doesn't matter what comes
Yeah.
their way. It's gonna
Right.
be a missed opportunity.
Right,
So
right.
if you were ready to clean up your act and do something different, and that's why I think, you know, it worked for you, and you know, you were in the right place at the right time.
No, I totally agree, and I laugh. It's like because I was 42 years old when I got sober, so I just don't see. And I see a lot of people that are a lot older, and
Yeah,
they've been through multiple programs. I remember this one guy used to say, "I've been to 13 recovery homes." I'm like, all right,
What does that look like?
What's your goal?
goal?
Yeah, what's your goal?
15?
They take
Look, she might have been homeless and needed somewhere to be.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And there was no
use
more
it for what you
containers
need to
left
use it
because
for.
she took the last
That's
one.
right. Yeah. And so I think a lot of people, what they want to do is they sober up and they want to be able to drink socially.
Yeah.
They,
yeah.
you know,
yeah.
and that comfort of you're not comfortable going places and saying I don't drink. People see me. I walk around with a bottle of water all the time.
Yeah.
That's what I drink.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell people it's not that I can't drink. I can drink with the best of them. I don't drink.
Right.
For me, at this point in my life, it's a choice, and it's a part of a spiritual practice.
Right.
You know, that allows me. It's like I get up in the morning, and I no longer wake up in the morning and say, "God, keep me sober." I mean, I've been doing this a while. Just drinking is not an option.
Right,
You know,
right,
It doesn't solve anything. And I hear people, it's like, my mother died. And I'm like, okay, so you took a drink, did she come back?
Right.
You know, people don't talk to me
Right.
long.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, they're not coming to
Yeah.
you for the
Right.
But
It
I
doesn't
want-
bring her back.
Yeah, I want them to have the reality, and it's
Yeah.
like, that okay, you're hurt, but it's not fixing anything. And
But I
for-
think that's important too.
Yeah.
I think it's important to
Yeah.
give people the reality, because like I was saying earlier, I think, you know, we enabled my mom, you know,
Yeah.
because we were tiptoeing around it. Like, no, we need to give her the facts and say what the truth is. Like, yeah, you took a drink, you know, because you were sad about something, but okay, how did that help you?
You
Like,
take
let's
it.
look at that. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Versus if you didn't take a drink. The situation is still there.
You took a drink when everything was great.
Exactly.
You know, you just drink, and
Yeah.
you know, and so that becomes, it's our solution until it stops working.
Right.
And
right,
then
right.
when it doesn't work anymore, we keep trying to make it work,
Yeah.
because it has been what we relied on for so long for
Sure,
entertainment,
sure.
for relief,
Yeah.
for it's how I de-stress. So you know, we put
Right.
a lot of power into it,
Mm-hmm.
and
And that's important too.
Yeah.
You're saying you put a lot of power. When you give it your power,
Yeah.
that's what takes over.
Yeah.
You know, and then that's how you become, you know, more of a drinker, more. You
Yeah.
know?
then
So I'm with you on that. But we so thank you.
Yeah, well, this has definitely been enlightening.
Absolutely.
Definitely. I'm still on the container. I'm there.
Yeah.
You know, ingenious. You got to survive.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you know, I have to say that I met Sandy through my wife, and I've been knowing her like 6 years
7,
now, 6
yeah,
7
yeah.
years, and
She comes
I've
with the
never
package. She's part of the package.
Yeah, look, she's my other wife, I guess you could say. But she, and I never knew any of this stuff about her, and so that's why I find it fascinating just hearing about your life and all of the things that you've gone through, and I so appreciate you being able to be here today, because it could have turned out differently
yeah.
had you got into that headspace. So
Well, now that I've done this, there goes my chances of being president. Somebody will pull
Oh,
this
yeah.
up and be like, well, we know who she is.
Absolutely, yeah.
It wasn't the alcohol,
Look,
it's the women.
It doesn't
It's the
matter.
women.
Look, it doesn't matter what you do now. You can still do president.
Yeah,
We've
right.
had one in the household, in the White House.
Absolutely,
So
absolutely.
it don't matter what your record is.
Yeah,
But
we definitely have enjoyed this.
yeah, absolutely,
You know,
absolutely.
You know,
So
I am honored that you've asked me to be on this show.
yeah, we're honored that you want to come. I know, when I was talking to Sharyn, I was just like, for somebody who want to open up and give us their story, because a lot of people who may have gone through it still is not ready to share.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
and so we appreciate that, because your story could help someone else.
Mhm.
Someone who could be watching saying, wow, she did that. I was similar to that. If she could do it, I could do it.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
that's the main thing, that you're helping others.
Yeah.
too.
And you know,
do a lot
the
of
whole
help
format,
now.
the whole format of our show is to reach out to, to everyone, but specifically, Black lesbians, and we got a lot going on. We have a lot going on, and every day is not an OG. We just flew into Aspen. No, we dealing with life on life's terms, and a lot of us are living a lot of different lives, and this is just one slice of Black Americana, being a Black lesbian and dealing with. We just have a higher chance of being pulled into the drones of alcoholism, and there's a million reasons why, but we're reaching out to lesbian land and far beyond, because you should tell your story, and we would hope that you share your story and more or less share it with someone who cares, loves you, and can help you on with your journey.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
with that, you have anything else?
No.
Anything you want to tell our listeners before we go?
Outside that you single.
Yeah, well, I was
Yeah.
actually going to thank the two of you, because knowing that I'm in sobriety, one, you don't ever act funny around me. And
Oh,
two,
yeah.
when you throw parties, there's always an opportunity that I can have a pineapple and ginger ale and not feel uncomfortable like people
Right,
are looking.
But-
And
and
that's,
that's-
something that's important for people
Yeah.
that I go to a party, know that, make sure there's something that they can drink at your place.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
you bring
yeah.
up a great point, because when we're throwing parties, we keep our friends who don't drink in mind. So
Yeah.
We do.
we want things on the bar that they can just drink.
Right.
Let me get an orange juice and grenadine,
Yeah.
or a water. So whatever
With the
it
infused
is.
water and stuff that the bartenders. I said, "What are you fixing that these
Oh,
people
that
are
was so
drinking so much?"
good.
See,
Yeah.
everyone said that.
Yeah.
And I filled up my bottle. It was empty.
right.
Yeah.
So as you all know, Sandy was at our pride party. So, and as she is, everything with you, always been a big supporter, and we so appreciate her for her friendship, her sistership, her just
Her honesty.
familyship. Yeah.
Yes, and
So-
allowing us to see the journey as well,
Yeah.
and be front row participants. So with all of that, as always, we're wishing you the very best.
Of all good things, stay safe and stay woke.
I'm Sandy. That's Rosa. She's still Shannon. Thank you.
Bye.